Marcus Chin stared through the observatory windows of Nebula Station, watching the swirling purple and blue gases of the Carina Nebula dance across the eternal night. His research terminal beeped quietly, analyzing another set of artifacts from the recently discovered ruins on Proxima b. After 5 years as the station's lead xenoarchaeologist, he thought he'd seen everything the galaxy had to offer. He was wrong. The doors to the observatory whispered open, bringing with them a soft luminescence that had nothing to do with the station's ambient lighting. Kritha glided into the room, her crystalline skin refracting light in patterns that mimicked the nebula outside. Like all luminaries, she moved with an otherworldly grace that made humans feel clumsy by comparison. Dr. Chin, she spoke, her voice carrying harmonics that human vocal cords couldn't produce. I hope I'm not interrupting your work. Marcus straightened, trying to maintain his professional composure. The luminaries were the newest members of the Galactic Alliance, and their presence on Nebula Station was still a novelty. Not at all, researcher Kritha. I was just reviewing some findings from the Proxima ruins. Kritha moved closer, her crystalline features catching the starlight. That's actually why I sought you out. We've discovered something in the luminary archives that might be connected to your ruins. She produced a small data crystal that pulsed with an inner light. Would you be willing to collaborate on this research? Marcus accepted the crystal, careful not to brush against her luminescent skin. The last human who accidentally touched a luminary had caused a minor diplomatic incident. I'd be honored. The ruins have been particularly challenging to decode. As they worked together over the next few hours, Marcus found himself increasingly fascinated by both the research and his companion. Kritha's insights into ancient civilizations were unlike anything he'd encountered in his years of study. She approached archaeology not just as a science, but as a form of art, seeing patterns in cultural evolution that his human perspective had missed. Your species has such an interesting way of viewing history, Kritha observed as they examined a holographic reconstruction of the ruins. You seek not just facts, but stories. It's refreshing. Marcus smiled, gesturing to a particular section of the hologram. Well, history is more than just dates and artifacts. It's about understanding people, or beings, who lived before us. Their hopes, their dreams, their dash. He stopped as the hologram suddenly shifted, revealing a hidden chamber they hadn't noticed before. Kritha's skin pulsed with excitement, sending rainbow patterns across the observatory walls. Marcus, do you realize what this means? This chamber's architecture, it bears striking similarities to ancient luminary meditation spaces. The discovery kept them working well into the station's night cycle. As other researchers left the observatory, Marcus and Kritha remained, piecing together the possibility that humans and luminaries might have crossed paths millennia before their official first contact. We should document this properly, Marcus said, stifling a yawn. The implications for both our species' histories are enormous. Kritha turned to him, her crystalline features arranging themselves in what he'd learned was a smile. You continue to surprise me, Dr. Chin. Most beings we've encountered are more interested in trading technology than understanding our past. Please, call me Marcus, he said, saving their findings to his data pad. And understanding the past is the best way to build a better future. As they prepared to end their session, Kritha hesitated. Marcus, would you be interested in continuing this collaboration? The Luminary Science Council would be very interested in your unique perspective. Of course, Marcus replied, not realizing that his enthusiastic acceptance would set in motion events that would change both their lives and interstellar relations forever. As Kritha left the observatory, her bioluminescence leaving trailing patterns in the air, Marcus turned back to the nebula view. Something about this discovery felt different. Important. He had no way of knowing that this was just the beginning of a story that would be told across the stars for generations to come. 2 weeks after their initial discovery, Marcus found himself in the Luminary Research Wing of Nebula Station, a section few humans had ever entered. The walls themselves seemed alive, pulsing with bioorganic light that responded to the presence of its crystalline inhabitants. Kritha led him through corridors that twisted in geometrically impossible ways. Our ancestors believed that knowledge should flow like light, she explained, gesturing to the living architecture around them. The path to understanding is rarely straight. They arrived at a secure chamber where a single artifact hovered in a containment field. It was roughly pyramidal, but its surfaces rippled like liquid metal, covered in symbols that seemed to shift when Marcus tried to focus on them. The object radiated a soft golden light that made his skin tingle. This was recovered from the deepest chamber of the ruins, Kritha said, her own crystalline form resonating slightly with the artifact. We believe it's a convergence key, a device our ancestors used to bridge different species' consciousness. Marcus circled the artifact, his archaeologist's mind racing with possibilities. The symbols, they look like a hybrid of ancient luminary script and something else. Something older. Kritha manipulated the containment field's controls, causing the artifact to rotate slowly. That's why we needed your expertise. The human portion of these inscriptions predates your species' recorded history by at least 50,000 years. As they worked to decode the symbols, Marcus noticed Kritha growing increasingly animated. Her usual composed demeanor gave way to excitement as each new translation revealed more about their shared past. The artifact suggested that humans and luminaries weren't just connected, they had once been part of a vast coalition of species working together to achieve something momentous. Look at this section, Marcus pointed to a sequence of symbols. It's describing some kind of grand project, a collaboration between multiple species too. He frowned, struggling with the translation. To touch the face of creation itself, Kritha finished, her voice filled with wonder. Her crystalline form pulsed with deep blues and purples of profound emotion. Our peoples weren't just allies, Marcus. We were dreamers together. As the station's cycle drew to a close, Kritha suddenly became serious. Marcus, I need to share something with you. In light of our discoveries, the Luminary Science Council has authorized me to offer you something no human has ever received. She produced a small crystal that seemed to capture and refract every color in existence. It pulsed gently, like a heartbeat. This is a resonance crystal. Among my people, it's a symbol of deep connection. Would you accept it? Marcus stared at the crystal, mesmerized by its beauty. His scientific mind noted how it seemed to synchronize with his own heartbeat. I'd be honored, he said, carefully taking the crystal. The moment his fingers touched it, it flared with brilliant light, and he felt a strange warmth spread through his chest. Kritha's entire form brightened with joy. Then it's done. I must inform the council immediately. This changes everything. Before Marcus could ask what exactly had changed, she had glided from the room, leaving him alone with the ancient artifact and his new crystal. He didn't notice how the other luminaries in the research wing began gathering, whispering excitedly among themselves, their crystalline forms pulsing in synchronized patterns of celebration. As he made his way back to his quarters, crystal in hand, Marcus remained blissfully unaware that he had just participated in one of the most sacred ceremonies in luminary culture. The implications would soon ripple across the galaxy, but for now, he was simply happy to have made progress on their research. The crystal pulsed warmly against his chest, in perfect rhythm with his heartbeat, as the ancient artifact in the research chamber seemed to shine just a little brighter, as if acknowledging a connection that spanned millennia. News traveled fast on Nebula Station. By the time Marcus arrived at his lab the next morning, the atmosphere had shifted noticeably. Alien species that normally paid him little attention were suddenly stopping to stare. A group of Centaurians bowed deeply as he passed, their tentacles twirling in what he recognized as a gesture of deep respect. Congratulations, Dr. Chin, called out Dr. ZYX, 427, a mechanoid researcher who had never before initiated conversation. Your union brings great honor to humanity. Marcus frowned, puzzled. I'm sorry, my what? Before he could get clarification, he noticed a crowd gathering near the luminary wing. At its center, Kritha stood with several elder luminaries, their crystalline forms synchronized in a complex dance of light and color. The resonance crystal at his chest pulsed warmly in response to their presence. The chosen approaches, announced one of the elders, their form shifting to a formal pattern of gold and white. the first human to be welcomed into the Luminary Collective through the sacred bonds of unity. Kritha glided forward, her usual grace amplified by obvious joy. Marcus, the High Council has approved our bonding. They're already preparing the formal ceremony. Your acceptance of the resonance crystal has opened a new chapter in human luminary relations. Marcus felt his stomach drop. Bonding? Ceremony? Kritha, what exactly did I agree to when I accepted this crystal? The assembled crowd fell silent. Kritha's luminescence dimmed slightly. The resonance crystal is our most sacred symbol of eternal partnership. By accepting it, you agreed to join your life force with mine in the traditional bonding ceremony. Did you not know? The realization hit him like a gravitational wave. He had accidentally agreed to what amounted to marriage in luminary culture. The crystal at his chest seemed to pulse faster, matching his increasing heart rate. There seems to have been a misunderstanding, he managed, trying to maintain diplomatic composure. In human culture, we usually discuss these things before. One of the elder luminaries stepped forward, their form rippling with concern. The crystal has already synchronized with your life force. Such a bond cannot be easily undone without significant risk to both parties. The news spread through the station like a quantum wave collapse. Within hours, the human diplomatic office was flooded with messages. Marcus found himself at the center of an interstellar incident. His personal communication device buzzed constantly with messages from Earth's government, xenoanthropologists, and media outlets. In his quarters that evening, Marcus sat with Kritha, trying to navigate their unique situation. The crystal continued its steady pulse between them, a physical reminder of their accidental connection. I never meant to mislead you, Kritha said softly, her form dimmed to gentle pastels of regret and concern. In our culture, the offering and acceptance of a resonance crystal is the culmination of a deep connection between souls. Your work with me, your understanding of our history, your respect for our ways. I thought you understood. Marcus ran a hand through his hair, exhaling slowly. On Earth, we have a saying, lost in translation. I guess some things are universal. He looked at her, seeing not just the alien being he'd been working with, but someone who had genuinely believed they shared a profound connection. What happens now? He asked. Kritha's form shifted through several colors before settling on a calm blue. The High Council arrives tomorrow to begin the formal recognition process. But Marcus, if this is truly not what you want, we will find a way to address it, even if it means risking the diplomatic consequences. The crystal pulsed between them, and Marcus found himself wondering if its warmth was purely physical or something more. As the station's night cycle began, they sat in contemplative silence, two beings from vastly different worlds, bound together by a simple act of cultural misunderstanding that might just change the course of interstellar relations forever. The arrival of the Luminary High Council transformed Nebula Station overnight. Their crystalline ship, resembling a massive geometric snowflake, dwarfed the station as it took up position in synchronous orbit. The Council's presence turned what had been a local cultural mishap into an interstellar diplomatic event. Marcus stood in the station's grand reception chamber, uncomfortably aware of the dozens of cameras and scanning devices focused on him. The resonance crystal seemed to pulse more intensely under the scrutiny. Earth's hastily assembled diplomatic team flanked him on one side, while Kritha and her fellow luminaries created a dazzling display of light on the other. High Counselor Viethra, a luminary elder whose crystalline form contained swirling galaxies of color, addressed the assembled crowd. For millennia, we have awaited signs that humanity was ready to rejoin the ancient alliance. This union, though unexpected, perhaps signals that time has come. Ambassador Chin Weilin, no relation to Marcus, but certainly making him wish otherwise at this moment, stepped forward. While we appreciate the cultural significance of this event, surely we can agree that binding a human scientist to your species without proper protocol or informed consent creates certain diplomatic complications. The crystal at Marcus's chest flared warmly, and he noticed Kritha's form ripple with concern. The High Counselor's colors shifted to deep, authoritative purples. The resonance bond is not a mere political arrangement, Viethra stated. It is a connection of life forces. To sever it carelessly would risk both participants' well-being. Our ancient records speak of cases where forced separation led to unfortunate consequences. A ripple of murmurs passed through the crowd. Marcus felt the weight of history, politics, and two species' futures pressing down on him. But beneath that pressure, he felt something else, the steady, comforting pulse of the crystal that had somehow become synchronized with his own heartbeat. "If I may speak," he said, his voice carrying in the sudden silence. All eyes and sensory organs turned to him. This situation arose from a cultural misunderstanding, yes. But perhaps it's also an opportunity. Kritha and I discovered evidence of ancient cooperation between our species. Maybe this accident is history's way of coming full circle. Kritha's form brightened hopefully, but Ambassador Chin looked alarmed. "Dr. Chin, please be careful what you imply. The political ramifications." "With respect, Ambassador," Marcus interrupted, surprising himself with his boldness, "this is bigger than politics. The resonance crystal responds to truth and genuine connection. That's what Kritha was trying to show me through our research. Our ancestors knew something we've forgotten, that different species can work together, can understand each other, can even care for each other." The crystal pulsed brightly as he spoke, and Kritha glided closer to him, her form synchronizing with its glow. The High Council members exchanged meaningful looks, their crystalline bodies creating complex patterns of light. "There is wisdom in his words," Viethra announced. "But the path forward must be carefully considered. We propose a period of cultural exchange and adaptation. The bond will remain, but the formal ceremony can be delayed until both parties, and both species, are better prepared." As the diplomats began discussing details, Marcus felt Kritha's presence beside him. "You didn't have to defend our connection," she said softly. "You could have demanded its dissolution." Marcus watched the swirling colors beneath her crystalline surface, remembering the wonder he'd felt when they first discovered the ancient artifacts together. "Maybe I'm starting to understand what this crystal really means," he replied. "Besides, how many xenoarchaeologists get to literally become part of the history they study?" The crystal pulsed warmly between them, and for a moment, the chaos of politics and diplomacy faded away. They had stumbled into something neither of them had expected, but perhaps that's exactly how the most important discoveries were made. The following weeks on Nebula Station saw an unprecedented cultural exchange program. The resonance bond between Marcus and Kritha had become a catalyst for deeper understanding between humans and luminaries, though not without its challenges. Marcus sat in a meditation chamber, surrounded by crystalline formations that responded to his emotional state. Learning to control these reactions was part of his crash course in luminary culture. The crystal at his chest flared erratically as he struggled to maintain focus. "Your mind is scattered today," Kritha observed, her form shifting to calming shades of blue. "The human delegate's arrival tomorrow concerns you?" "My parents are among them," Marcus admitted, watching the chamber's crystals flicker with his anxiety. Explaining this situation in video calls is one thing. Facing them in person. The crystal pulsed with a wave of warmth, and he felt his tension ease slightly. Kritha moved closer, her crystalline form harmonizing with the chamber's resonance. "I have been studying human family dynamics. Your bond with your progenitors is different from our collective consciousness, but no less significant." Marcus couldn't help but smile. Their mutual attempts to understand each other's cultures had led to some fascinating discussions. "Speaking of family, how are you handling the Council's daily guidance sessions?" Kritha's form flickered with what he now recognized as amusement. "They believe I acted rashly in offering you the crystal without proper preparation. Perhaps they are right, but—" She paused, her colors shifting to deeper hues. "I do not regret it." Their conversation was interrupted by an urgent message. The station's AI announced, "Priority alert, anomaly detected in the ancient artifact chamber. Resonance patterns destabilizing." They rushed to the research wing, finding the artifact they'd been studying weeks ago pulsing with irregular energy. The symbols on its surface were shifting rapidly, and the containment field was struggling to maintain stability. "The artifact is reacting to your bond," one of the luminary scientists explained, their form displaying patterns of concern. It's trying to communicate something. Marcus felt the resonance crystal grow warm as they approached. Kritha's form began to synchronize with the artifact's pulses. Together, they watched as new symbols materialized on the artifact's surface. "This is incredible," Marcus breathed, recognizing elements of both ancient human and luminary script. It's not just a historical record, it's a key to understanding how our ancestors communicated across their differences. Kritha's form brightened with revelation. The convergence key, it wasn't just a device for bridging consciousness. It was a template for how different species could truly understand each other. As they worked to decode the new information, Marcus realized something profound. The cultural misunderstanding that had bound them together wasn't really a misunderstanding at all. The crystal had recognized a potential that neither of them had fully grasped, a capacity for genuine connection across the vast gulf of their differences. Later that evening, as they prepared for the arrival of the human delegation, Kritha asked, "Are you still concerned about tomorrow?" Marcus touched the crystal, feeling its steady pulse. Less than before. After all, if we can decode ancient artifacts and bridge thousand-year gaps in our species' shared history, explaining this to my parents should be manageable. The chamber's crystals pulsed with gentle light, reflecting the growing harmony between them. What had started as an accidental engagement was becoming something their ancestors might have recognized, proof that understanding across the stars was not only possible but necessary. The day of the formal recognition ceremony arrived, transforming Nebula Station into a spectacle of light and celebration. The ancient artifact, now fully decoded, had been moved to the central chamber, its golden glow mingling with the shimmering forms of assembled luminaries and the formal attire of human dignitaries. Marcus's parents sat in the front row, their initial shock having evolved into cautious acceptance over the past weeks. His mother had even attempted to learn some luminary color expressions, though her efforts to communicate in pulses of light using a borrowed crystal often resulted in unintentionally humorous messages. "Your mother just told me she's as bright as a supernova," Kritha whispered, her form rippling with contained amusement. Though I believe she meant to express joy. The ceremony began with High Counselor Viethra addressing the gathered assembly. "Today, we witness not just the union of two beings, but the revival of an ancient partnership between our peoples. The convergence key has shown us that our ancestors understood what we are now rediscovering, that true strength lies in our differences, not despite them." The artifact pulsed in harmony with their words, projecting holographic images of ancient humans and luminaries working together, building wonders that neither species could have achieved alone. Marcus felt the resonance crystal warm against his chest, its rhythm perfectly synchronized with Kritha's luminescence. Ambassador Chin stepped forward, her formal diplomatic mask softening. "When Dr. Chin accidentally accepted this bond, we feared a diplomatic crisis. Instead, we found a bridge. The research that emerged from this partnership has advanced both our species' understanding of our shared history by decades." Marcus and Kritha stood before the assembled crowd, their forms highlighted by the artifact's glow. The traditional luminary bonding ceremony had been modified to incorporate human elements, creating something entirely new, much like their partnership itself. "The crystal chose well," Kritha said softly, her form shimmering with emotions that Marcus could now read as clearly as human expressions. "Even if we didn't realize it at first." Marcus smiled, remembering their journey from that first meeting in the observatory. Sometimes the best discoveries are the ones we don't plan for. The ceremony culminated with the artifact responding to their fully realized bond, projecting a massive star map showing ancient travel routes between human and luminary worlds. This discovery would open up new avenues of exploration and cooperation between their peoples. As the celebration continued into the station's night cycle, Marcus found a quiet moment with Kritha in their favorite observatory. The nebula outside painted the stars in brilliant colors that matched her crystalline form. "Do you think our ancestors planned this?" he asked, watching the ancient routes glowing on the star map. "Setting up a future where our peoples would find each other again?" Kritha's form shifted through thoughtful patterns of light. Perhaps they knew that understanding cannot be forced or planned. It must grow naturally, even if it starts with a misunderstanding. The resonance crystal pulsed between them, no longer just a symbol of their accidental engagement, but a testament to the unexpected ways the universe brings people together. Outside the observatory windows, Nebula Station continued its orbit, a shining example of how different species could coexist and thrive together. Their story would be told across the stars for generations to come, not just as the tale of a human who accidentally accepted an alien marriage proposal, but as proof that the greatest discoveries often come from being open to possibilities we never imagined.